Ever since Marvel released its surprising Halloween special Werewolf by Night, many fans are probably curious about the character, so here's everything you need to know about Jack Russell's comic history and how it could play into the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Much like this was Marvel Studios' first outing in the horror genre for the MCU, Werewolf by Night was actually also Marvel's first ongoing comic series for a horror character, launching in 1972 after he appeared in 3 issues of Marvel's Spotlight. Fellow co-star Man-Thing began appearing at Adventure into Fear a month later, with the iconic Dracula getting his own series as well, thus launching Marvel's era of horror that lasted the majority of the decade. We would see other Universal-inspired monsters join the mix, like Frankenstein's monster and the Living Mummy, as well as new characters like Ghost Rider, Son of Satan, and Brother Voodoo. As for Jack, his series would last for 43 issues until 1977, with 5 giant-size issues releasing alongside it. Here we see Jack Russell learn he's a near-indestructible werewolf on his 18th birthday, just like every other kid, when he turns during the full moon. After investigating the origins of his curse, he discovers that it all started with his great-great-great-grandfather, who tried to kill Dracula to avenge his wife's death. He's attacked by one of Dracula's werewolf servants and in turn transforms into a werewolf himself. Jack's father would reawaken this curse when he found a copy of the Darkhold and read the passages about werewolves. To protect his family, he sent his wife to America with their children, where Jack would grow up unaware of his curse until he'd find his father's diary, which actually had the entirety of the Darkhold copied and transcribed into its pages. Dracula would actually come after the diary, and Jack saw the opportunity to get revenge for all the trouble the vampire caused for his family. Of course, Dracula overpowers him and runs off with the diary, and Jack kind of just gets over it. Also in this series, we see Jack face a lot of cults, an organization called the Committee, as well as a magic werewolf, a business werewolf, his little sister turned into a werewolf, and a werewolf biker gang called the Brain Eaters. He'd also face a cosmic-powered Star Wolf and help Captain America when he turned into a werewolf. Similar to the movie, we also see him held captive by someone possessing the Bloodstone to transform him in front of a crowd. Most notably in this series, the iconic Moon Knight made his debut in issue number 32 in 1975, appearing as a mercenary sent to kill Jack by the Committee, where he has a change of heart and helps Jack get away in the end. Moon Knight would actually become one of Jack's most common allies after this point, as they would continue to show up in each other's comics in the future. It was also in 1975 that Jack would join Morbius, Man-Thing, and Ghost Rider to form the Legion of Monsters, although it didn't work out so well when they ended up killing the person they were trying to save. After the original series ended, Jack would appear regularly in the Marvel Comics Presents anthology comics and teamed up with the original Midnight Suns before he got a 6-issue miniseries of his own again in 1997 that continued in 2 issues of Strange Tales in a crossover with Man-Thing. He had a one-shot issue almost a decade later and then starred in the 2008 Halloween special comic with Frankenstein's monster. In 2009, he would join the Legion of Monsters again to resurrect the Punisher as Frankencastle, and in 2011 they would get their own miniseries with monster hunter Elsa Bloodstone leading them. After this, Jack would continue to appear regularly in the Legion of Monsters, where he seemed to finally find his place. There's really no telling when we'll see Jack again in the MCU, but with Blade coming soon, it's not a stretch to imagine we could see these characters together on a Midnight Suns team, maybe even with Moon Knight and Man-Thing. If they stick to Jack's origins, there's a chance we could see him have connections to the Darkhold from Multiverse of Madness, but Marvel actually had a good bit of werewolves in the comics, including J. Jonah Jameson's son that married She-Hulk, 2 agents operating for S.H.I.E.L.'s Supernatural Howling Commandos under the codename Werewolf, and a newer Native American werewolf by night, so it's also possible Jack's story could be meshed with any of these characters. The black and white style of the special was also a well-played homage to both classic Universal monster movies and the black and white mature comics from the 1970s, and some of the shots of the transformation scene were almost identical to the classic American Werewolf in London. Jack's campy design was also a cool mesh of the original Wolfman and Team Wolf, matching up somewhat with his first appearance in the comics. With the special already a hit amongst viewers, it'll be interesting to see if Marvel continues to do the black and white style for these kind of horror projects, but we can at least rest assured that we'll be seeing a lot more of Jack Russell and Man-Thing in the MCU and the comics going forward.